All right, it's time to talk about the featured matchup out in Brooklyn, New York at UFC on ESPN +1. It's the beginning of the ESPN era for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and they have some quality fights, including that main event that we talked about. But now it's time, guys, to talk about the lightweight division, Donald Cerrone and Alexander Hernandez. Get this, Alexander Hernandez is a -190 favorite. Donald Cerrone comes back at about +165. It's a shocker because Cerrone's been in there with the best of them for such a long time. He holds a lot of records. Is this man getting no respect or what, Goes? Who do you like here?
I am the absolute worst human being that you could ever ask this question to. In 11 years of doing this show, I've never picked a Donald Cerrone fight correctly.
What? Not
Even
one?
Even when I've bet on him, picked him, or I picked against him, I never get it right. But I'm going to try for you guys. I like Alex Hernandez's aggression. I think it's the aggressive style that can give Donald trouble. However, lately when people have been doing that, Donald has been able to make some adjustments. He's pulled off some submission victories. I'm just going to go with the younger guy, man. I'm going to go with Alex Hernandez. But if you like what's been happening with my history, bet against me because I'm always wrong. Back to you guys.
Dan?
Oh, man, that's a terrible setup for me. Now it's got me rethinking my whole pick, which gives away my pick. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to be the dodo brain picking against Donald Cerrone again, which looks terrible because Cerrone's like one of those guys where your heart's always riding with Cerrone, especially if you've been watching this sport for a while. But speaking of watching the sport for a while, I went back to some of my old favorite Donald Cerrone memories, back down at lightweight where he's returning for this fight. And, man, he looked so, not depleted, but just so much slimmer back then, right? And now looking at him at the welterweight where we've been used to him for these past couple of years, he looks so much healthier and filled out. And granted, I know he's not the biggest welterweight. And sure, there are maybe some wrestlers, or back to the pressure Goes was alluding to, that could pose problems in that division. But I'm a little nervous. You know, he's getting older. I believe he's going to be 36 this year or so, right in that neighborhood, dropping back down to the weight class the first time. And Alexander Hernandez a bit on a hot streak, so maybe that's why the odds are that way. The odds do surprise me despite my pick, George. But I am going with Hernandez because of kind of what Go said, the aforementioned pressure. Hernandez, he likes to operate at boxing range. He looks like a really young kid, but really knows what he wants in there. Speaks much more mature than he is, even starting to fight that way. We saw him overachieve against OAM and Beneil Dariush. But yeah, Donald Cerrone's a different beast. I mean, if Cerrone gets him with a head kick, could we really say we're surprised? No. I don't see Cerrone winning that way. If Cerrone wins this fight, I think it's going to be off of his guard or in transition. I think Alex Hernandez is going to be wanting to grind this fight like he did OAM. We've seen that work against Donald Cerrone if you can pressure him with grappling pressure or that inside space. But he's going to have to be smart in that inside space, guys. We're going to get an answer one way or another. Were Alex Hernandez submission defenses and overall strike defenses, but I'm going to go with Hernandez for the decision here.
You know, Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal both got into that space, and they were aggressors in different ways. Jorge wanted to catch the next bus. He was quick, in his attack. Nate just wanted to get out of that kicking range and make it more of a boxing match. Plus, I think he played a little bit of the mind games. He flipped the hat and all that. But, look, we're talking about two great fighters there, and both those guys that I just named. Alexander Hernandez could very well wind up being as great as those guys. It's so soon, though, and I don't know about these young guys, having, I guess, like that type of success just yet. That said, I can agree that Cerrone's slowing down, and it is a question mark to go back to lightweight at the age of 36. Whew. Now, I can only wonder, what would Hernandez be favored if Cerrone wasn't so popular? Because, some of that is taken into account when they create the line.
Absolutely.
And are the odds makers saying, hey, this guy's skill set is even broader than that? It's just that Cerrone's popular? Who knows, man? Either way, I'm going to ride with Cerrone because Cerrone seems to listen to his coaches a little bit more. He's a little less reckless than he used to be. Outside the octagon, the guy will go skydiving or doing whatever he's got to do. But inside the octagon, I feel like he's being a little bit more measured. I think he also realizes I can't just take shots without making you pay. I think he'll wrestle if he needs to wrestle. I think he's more than content with his jiu-jitsu. And, of course, he's got some really, really nice leg kicks. So I'm going to say that the old guard is going to stand pat against the young Alex Hernandez. And who knows, man, Alex Hernandez, you're right. We've had him on the show a few times. And that guy seems very poised and mature beyond his years. So I might be eating crow on Monday. But I'm still riding with the cowboy. On Saturday nights, UFC on ESPN +1 event. Cowboy Cerrone versus Alexander Hernandez.